Peace. What's going on, YouTube? It's KJ back again with another video. So today we're going to get into protecting yourself as an empath and understanding exactly what your ability is and how to move forward in life and your interactions with others. So one thing I want to preface this with is the first thing that you have to understand is that this ability is not unique to just a certain group of people. Some people might have a higher affinity for this ability, but in essence, everyone can tap into this. It's not necessarily something that makes you special. You're not chosen, none of that. So I want to get that out of the way before people take this and they internalize it and make this all about their identity. That's not what this is about. This is about you understand that you have a certain gift within yourself that is stronger than all of your other gifts, or that might be more effective, or you might have a higher affinity for it than your other gifts, or than other people might. But it's not necessarily exclusive to you. The one thing that is exclusive to you is your soul and your mind. But when it comes to these types of abilities, it's not necessarily that. So protecting yourself as an empath. The last video I made had to do with understanding your gift, understanding how you'll pick up on other people's energy. You'll pick up on the world's energy. You'll pick up on groups. You'll pick up on nature. You'll pick up on everything around you, past, present, and future at all times. And this type of thing can be very overwhelming from some people, because people who have this ability at the forefront of their psychic abilities, it can disconnect them from others who may not be nearly as sensitive. And that might lead to you being labeled as being a sensitive person. I was told the same thing when I was a child, growing up. A lot of people told me that I was too sensitive. And the reason why is because I could understand things that when people will say things, but they'll mean another, or people will give off a certain vibe based off their emotions, but they'll tell you something contradictory to that, the opposite of it, and if you understand nonverbal communication, you can get what I'm talking about. People's body language, the way that they say things, may not necessarily match up to what you're feeling or what you're getting from them. And a lot of times like that will be completely different from the words that will be said. And this ability, protecting yourself with this ability, is about knowing when to make the difference and knowing how to go about after you make the difference, how to go about your interactions, how to go about your day after making that difference. Protecting yourself involves being able to look honestly within yourself and understand whether it's just your own insecurities or feelings, and whether it's somebody else's, or whether it's something around you, or something being cast upon you, or I wouldn't necessarily say that, but it would be something that is trying to influence your behavior, influence your feelings. This is why I talk a lot about emotional and chakra control, because you have to understand certain symbols in media, on technology, are meant to influence your emotional feelings and behavior. This is exactly why your data is being manipulated. Your behavior online and all these types of things are being put into a social profile to tailor certain ads to you, to tailor certain things to you. It's all to get you emotionally wrapped up in whatever the case may be, to find what exactly it is that gets you going and to keep you on a certain pathway, whether it's good or bad. It just depends on what it is. So this is exactly why you'll find yourself encountering similar videos, and you'll think that, similar videos, similar content, whatever the case may be, and you'll think that a lot of people just share the same mindset, when in reality, you're disconnected from a greater reality, and you're living in a certain loop. You're living within a certain bubble. Being an empath, to make the best out of this ability, you have to be willing to take yourself out of the identity that you're in. You have to be willing to take yourself out of the thought process and the emotional feelings that you find yourself in on a daily basis. You have to be objective with this. And the reason why that I say that is because if your ability is subjective, then it's not effective. It's completely based off of the wind and which way it's blowing that day. And that makes you no different from any other human walking around this planet. What makes you different is your ability to take that ability and transform it and make it work for you. So protecting yourself involves, I would say that it involves, the first thing is to let go of people pleasing or trying to live up to a certain image as well. Because that ties into people pleasing. The only reason why you want to live into a certain image is simply because of the fact that it keeps you in this sane box that you created for yourself, known as your first name and your last name, your identity. That's essentially what you're trying to attach to. But you have to realize that when you die, that identity no longer exists. When you go into the spirit world, that identity no longer exists. And you do these things. You go into the spirit world on a daily basis. When you go to sleep, when you astral travel, when you dream, everything happens on a daily basis. You are constantly operating on multiple different planes of reality. So you have to understand that just this localized notion of who you are is nothing more than a title. Nothing more than a collection of a series of events. The same series of events as if you were watching a movie. You're acting out a character. And when it comes to people pleasing, you're also acting out a character. You're acting out a character to keep others' perception of you as good as it possibly can be, because it reinforces that notion of this person that you want to be instead of you just being the person that you are. So this is something that a lot of people struggle with, myself included, because you have to be willing to tell people no. You have to be willing to do what's not popular. You have to be willing to do things that are against the grain. You have to be willing to say things that are against the grain. You have to be willing to be honest, even if it includes disappointing other people. And that in and of itself, while it sounds very simple, most people, empath or not, have a problem with that. Because in this society, you are taught to go along to get along. You're taught to be nice. You're taught to be courteous to your fellow human beings. And maybe you should be that way. Maybe you should be that way if you're genuine about it. But when you're just doing things just to do them, because you've been trained to do them, like the same way that a dog is trained to not pee inside of the house, then now you're just doing things because it's a trained behavior, a learned behavior, not necessarily something that you want to do. Because you'll find yourself, it'll go from people pleasing to you won't speak how you truly feel about something to protect somebody else. It'll go from that to now you won't leave an uncomfortable situation because you don't want other people to be sad or think some kind of way. You'll create many different realities that haven't even happened yet based off of your inability to be direct, to be honest. A lot of this ability's power comes with your honesty with yourself and others. That determines how effective it really is. You can't necessarily live your life going along to get along for any reason. It's too short to do that. You didn't just come down here and you're just down here, having a good time. You should have a good time, but you'll have a better time when you're living your life with purpose. And it's hard to live your life with purpose when you're constantly bending your knee to others' will, whether they're imposing it on you or not. You have to be willing to spread your wings, to flourish and just really be you. And a lot of times it's hard to do that, especially when you come from a strict upbringing. And I came from a pretty strict upbringing too. I grew up in a religious household. And my first few years, I went to a religious school. So you already know that was a strict upbringing. And it takes time to really be comfortable with expressing who you really are in certain environments like that. And I'm sure others might have had more strict or even less strict upbringings than I have. And outside of just your childhood too, because a lot of the notion of whether you'll please people a certain way or not comes from that. But it's also what society teaches you and engineers you to do as well. Whether it's expressing certain opinions, certain beliefs, or even just carrying yourself a certain way, you can't be afraid to do that. That will bring you out of alignment. And when I talked about the throat chakra in a previous video, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this before. You'll hold back your creativity. You'll hold back your words, your personal truth in favor of what looks good to the world, what sounds good to the world. And if that's not necessarily you, then, you're limiting your power. So don't be afraid, don't be afraid to exit certain situations, to express certain views and whatever the case may be. And just be you. Don't be afraid to disappoint people. I like to say that if a lot of people are pissed off about the decisions that you're making, and they want you to go back to being someone that you're not comfortable being, then you're doing the right thing, in my personal opinion. And I say that simply because of the fact that many people, especially if they're not beneficial to your life, they're not supportive of you, but they want you to just be a certain way because it makes them feel comfortable. Many people want to keep you in a certain position. They don't want you to outshine or to shine them because they feel like it's going to outshine them. And if you know what I'm saying, they don't want you to grow, or, and if they're not supportive of your growth, then you have to let them go you cannot people please trying to keep everybody around. And even with people that you might encounter that are new to your life, when you enter into new situations in your life. And this is something I meant to add earlier, but I'm saying it now because this also applies. People who are new to your life, in a sense, you're not here to make friends with everybody, because that's also another thing of people pleasing. And that's something that you've been told: be social, be outgoing, whatever the case may be. And I agree with being social. It's okay, but there's a point where you're just doing stuff just to do it, like small talk. You're just doing it just to do it. But when you're intentional about wanting to connect with people, that is so much more effective than small talk is. It's so much more effective than just talking for the sake of talking. And so what I wanted to get with that is, like, when you come across new people and, maybe the vibration isn't matching, it's okay if it doesn't match. It's okay if you don't get along with somebody. You don't have to engage with them, whether it's a coworker, whether it's somebody you have to be around every now and then, whatever the case may be. You don't have to engage with them, and you don't have to, because that's another form of people pleasing, thinking that you have to be cool with everybody. Something that you need to understand as an empath: you're not going to be cool with everybody, especially if you're honest and you're using your ability to its effectiveness. Just because you have the ability to heal emotionally and connect with people on a higher level emotionally and all these types of things, and understand energy, doesn't necessarily mean everybody's going to be your friend. Not everybody down here has the same vibration as you. Not everybody down here has the same agenda as you. And people come from all different types of walks of life. Some people are very fucked up. or there's just not everything's going to be a match. So that's something that you have to get out of your head. You also have to get out of your head this notion that you have to love and care for everybody, because a lot of people out here aren't worth loving and caring for, especially if they're supportive of injustice. Sure, you should have respect for other people, a certain amount of respect, yes, but this notion that you have to love and care for everyone, and that everything's gonna be all merry, it's just not the case. And that's another form of people pleasing, and that was indoctrinated through religion to keep you docile. You should connect to whoever you feel like you have a match to. You feel like you have a vibrational match with. You shouldn't just be trying to connect with everybody, trying to love everyone. It's just not the case. It's not. It's just not something that is effective. And there should be a certain degree of general love that you should have, yes. Because and that love isn't necessarily, I'm going to try to be best friends with my enemies, or people who, like those types of people you don't have to stick around, or you don't have to keep around you. You don't have to try to make amends with. No. But a certain amount of love to understand, this person I don't match, but that's okay. We don't have to. Whatever the case may be, friend, family, associates, enemies, whatever the case may be, you don't necessarily have to get along with everybody. That's a false notion that when you're learning to understand, it just doesn't even have to just do with empath ability, but if you're conscious in general, you already know that there's a distinctiveness between you and most people anyway, because most people aren't conscious. So that notion that you have to get along with everybody already doesn't even make a whole lot of sense to you, but you might still try because you have a subconscious belief that it's going to be a rewarding thing. You have a subconscious belief that this is what you're supposed to do in society. But what you're really supposed to do is be true to you. And the more true you are to yourself, the more that you close that gap, the more protected you are spiritually, guaranteed. And also and physically as well. The more, it just seems like the more I've seen myself be closer to who and what I truly am, the more things just tend to work out for me. The better people that I attract, the healthier interactions that I have, better environments, the easier it is to get greater things in my reality that I desire. That all came from me looking within myself and being real with myself and being real with the world that I intend to create, the world that I interact with on a daily basis. That's how you really bring light out of darkness. And so another way to protect yourself is, I would say, just doing what it is that you know is your mission. Your mission is what protects you. And we can get sidetracked a lot because this world has a lot of distractions. But and a lot of these distractions are trying to distract you from the ultimate reality of yourself, trying to distract you from being one with your higher self, being one with your soul, and keep you bought into all these random events that are going on, all this fake news. It's a lot of it is meant to just keep you away from asking those questions of who and what you truly are, and following through with who and what you truly are came here for. That's really it. You don't want to put so much emphasis in expecting the world to change, but rather you want to be active, proactive in taking charge in your life. Be proactive. Be proactive in learning things that you don't know, that you know that you have to learn to become greater. You know, you have to follow through, because at the end of the day, we're still students. And so as students in a school or prison called Earth, you have to learn what it is that you need to learn about yourself to move forward. You have to be willing to put your nose to the grindstone. And a lot of these things aren't going to come easy. And the reason why they're not going to come easy is because we have this notion that if it doesn't come easy, then it's not worth pursuing. Or that it's not even that, but it's even more so, it's if it doesn't come easy, it's because it's not meant for you. You don't have a talent for it. You know, last time I checked, we're as humans, spirits having a human experience, we're very mutable and we're very creative. And this is exactly why in ancient scriptures it says that man was made in the image of God. So your ability to go from being a clean slate with no abilities, no skills, no traits, to go from a clean slate to a level 99, whatever the case may be, right? To gain whatever you want to gain is simply based on your belief in yourself. Entirely based on that, your mindset. Your mindset is what's going to carry you forward in life. And you can only achieve based off of where you are at spiritually, emotionally, and psychologically. Those are the only true barriers that really exist. There is no physical barrier to your potential, but you have to see it first. And if you don't see it, you need to create a picture of it in your mind and hold it firmly. And really that's it. You know, we came to learn, we came to flourish, we came to thrive. We didn't come to be under other people's umbrella. We didn't come to be docile. We didn't come to be people pleasers. You came to be you. And understanding that will take you to the next level. Most definitely. Understanding that when you walk into a room and the energy doesn't align, you have to be willing to bring your energy in. And you can do this with visualization. The book Empath by Judy Dyer talks about when you're around a situation, you're in a situation that is unfavorable to you, you feel all stuff that's going on emotionally, your way of detaching is you want to imagine a shield around yourself. Whatever the case may be, you want to imagine a protective barrier around yourself, certain lights. I know that blue and white work as good protective fields. And you can also check more on that in the Healer's Handbook. That's a book that I like to go into a lot, that I use that a lot for my meditations and a lot for my spiritual work. Very helpful for empaths. You want to pick up those two books. They go through the basics of just how to really use your ability properly. And you know, what I found that also works for me is like when you're caught up in a situation, or especially when your emotions are in the way, you have to understand a lot of your spiritual work happens on the fly. And this is because a lot of the symbols of things that you haven't dealt with, they come up on a daily basis for you to work through them so you can transform. Whether you're constantly, consciously going for things or not, your spirit is always trying to get you to the next level. So when something comes up, especially based off of that's triggering you, you want to be proactive and face it. Having to face it at the end of the day in your meditation it's not a failure, but it's passive. And things do happen on a spiritual realm first. So yes, you can do that, and you should do that so you can let go of the energy behind that. That's what I do. But another thing is, if you can deal with something in real time and you can take a breather, then deal with it. Talk to that person that you might have a certain inkling towards, whether it's positive or negative. Be honest if something bothers you. Like, these little things are spiritual work on the fly. We'd like to think of it just as, oh, this is just stuff that happens in my daily life. Like I said, you're not just here living. You're not just here living. You're not just this random event that happened. No, like, everything about you being here is intentional. So probe why you are where you are, why you feel the way that you feel, and what's going on in your life. Probe all the things that trigger you. Because when you do probe it and you do get past it, now that no longer holds you back into a lower reality. That's also a form of protection, because once you elevate yourself, you elevate your thought process, now you're in a higher reality where those things that used to hold you back no longer hold you back anymore. That's true protection. Moving forward from the things that have been eating at you. And trust me, they do eat at you. All that negativity that's produced by the little things that trigger you, you have to be willing to probe those things. You have to be willing to explore those things. Not in a sense where it's like this is massive undertaking, it's something to be so serious about, but this is a journey. It's an adventure. The adventure of you. Especially if you're working backwards and you're trying to figure out what happened in your early years of your life, or throughout the many years of your life. This is a massive adventure, and it's the adventure of you. You're a large world in and of yourself, within another world, and there's no greater adventure than that. And just if you see it that way, your perception, right? If you change your perception, instead of just seeing it as, man, I got to do all this spiritual work, I'm going through all this crazy stuff, this happened, that happened, I'm not feeling so high vibe today. But if you go from that to, well, you know what? Why do I feel this way? What's going on with me? Why am I here? I want to know why I'm here. I want to understand why I'm here. This is interesting. Stop looking at your life as a drama and look at your life as an action adventure, or even look at your life as a comedy. One of my friends, his name is Isaiah, but I remember he was telling me that he looked at his life when he was a child as one of those sitcoms where they have the people laughing on demand. And it really is, yes, a lot of this stuff is just local to your mind, but really, there's not much of a difference. You ever hear somebody say, oh yeah, my life feels like a movie? And some people's wild imaginations, it's extremely vivid. So start seeing your life that way. See your life whatever way makes you feel comfortable. That's another form of protection. Your own perception is going to determine what you attract. Is going to determine your vibration, and when you're perceiving things a certain way, it also affects your emotions. So you also have to think about just the way that you're looking at things, the way that you're feeling about things. Think about how much that might be benefiting you or holding you back in every situation. This is why I said a great deal of honesty is key here, very key here. So be willing to do all that work. Be willing to do all of it. And really just stop seeing it as work, but just see it as, this is a new way of living your life. That way it doesn't feel like a drag. It's just a new way of living your life. Make it as exciting as you want to make it. You're the director. You're the creator when it comes to this. And when you start seeing it as like you're painting a canvas or like you're directing a movie, all of a sudden everything just becomes so much easier. And the easier that things are for you, the more things flow. Your life is meant to flow. It's not meant to stagnate. What stagnates it is living on this conveyor belt. You know what I mean? What stagnates it, what holds you back, is trying to be someone that you're not, or be someone that you're told is valuable to society. Society doesn't exist. Society is a social construct, but what really exists is you and your internal values. What really exists is you and your mission and the ultimate reality within yourself, your soul. That really exists. So follow through with that, and that'll be the ultimate protection that you can get, because that's really all that matters. Why live for anything else? Whereas you can live from the inside out and you can get everything you need and more. Don't live from the outside in. That's another thing. When you live from the outside in, you'll be constantly chasing a bunch of different things, and you'll definitely accumulate a lot of stuff, but it never feels satisfying. It'll never feel satisfying, especially for an empath if you're living from the outside in. And honestly, that applies to all the other points that I made. Live from the inside out. Imagine from the inside out. Follow through from the inside out. You can never go wrong with listening to your heart. So once you start to make those connections, once you start to put these things into practice, when you start to put this stuff into practice, then you'll find that you have a much easier time. You'll find that you're so much more protected in life. And those are really just the points that I want to make. And I really hope this helps all the empaths out there. And even if you're not an empath, anyone who's listening to this, I hope it helps, because it helped me. And just take it and see what you really get out of it. And if you do come up with new ways or something, or you take it and you run with it, because I really want you to take it and run with it and make your own thing out of it. If you do come up with that, feel free to share in the comments. Feel free to share with whoever you feel like you need to share it with, online or offline, whatever the case may be, because it's not just empaths that need this information, that need spiritual information that is beneficial to their lives, that they can use, and transform themselves with, but everybody needs it. The world needs a lot of healing. The world needs a lot of spiritual work. So let's continue putting that energy out there. I wish you all luck in your journey, and peace.